Hey everybody, I spent the last week or so really trying to dive in and figure out exactly which character I wanted to start with in the upcoming Season 1 of Diablo 4, Season of the Malignant, so stay tuned so that I can dive in and tell you exactly why it most definitely will not be the Rogue. Alright, here we are on the character selection screen of Diablo 4, and as you can see, I have played with every single character at least a little bit, some in hardcore, not a whole lot, but I've played enough throughout the closed beta last year that we had, that some of us had access to, and throughout all of the betas that we did earlier this year and the server slam. So I am very familiar with all of the classes in the game. The first class that I considered was the Sorcerer, and whereas I do like the Sorcerer and I really like the damage capabilities, there are just a little bit of things here and there that make the character feel incredibly squishy, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I like the survivability that's offered by some of the other classes, so immediately there, even with as much damage as the Sorcerer can dish out, I had to go ahead and say no to the Sorcerer. The next class that I had to consider was, of course, the Barbarian, and as you can see, I have a level 20 Barbarian here, and I played the Barbarian a lot in the beta, and I know there's been a lot of nerfs, I know there's been a lot of changes since the game has launched, but I have also played the Barbarian in many other Diablo games, so I know a little bit about the class, and the fact of the matter is anybody who is experienced with Barbarian will tell you that it's often the most difficult class to play, just because of the nature of the class. You're always in the middle of things, you're always right up on the enemy, and it's really easy to get overpowered if you're not really paying close attention. And as somebody who hasn't played a serious hardcore character since Diablo 2, way back in the early 2000s, I just considered that a little bit too much of a risk. I didn't want to try to do that as my first jump back into hardcore. After that, I began considering the Druid, and I do like the Druid. I played a lot of the Druid in the beta. I thought the Druid was a great class, especially in the beta. The problem I have with the Druid as it sits right now is the leveling experience. The Druid does not have a lot to offer while leveling. Once you hit that level 50 and you begin to get access to all the in-game build stuff, the Druid really starts to shine. But until you get to that point is, a lot of risk involved there, because you don't have access to everything, and you're not going to be able to dish out the damages that you can do in game. So there, automatically, sorry, Roseanne Barr, you're out. Which, after all of that, brought me back to, of course, the character I've played the most of, and that is the Rogue. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the Rogue. The Rogue, I think, is a very strong choice for anybody looking to jump into hardcore for the first time, or just someone looking for a good, easy leveling experience, because the Rogue is that one character in this game that I feel is strong immediately. Early game, powerful. All you have to do is get the Blade Dancer's aspect, and you will just begin plowing through enemies like they are made of paper. Great class leveling experience-wise. In fact, I would go as far as to argue that it is the best class to level with. The problem with the Rogue is the staying power towards end game when you start getting into those high-tier nightmare dungeons. Now, I know a lot of people are doing it in hardcore. I know a lot of people are doing it in softcore. They're getting through those dungeons like they're nothing, and that's great. Good for them. But the average player like myself, who is not, Rax or some max row player, someone who's not an expert in the game, we're not going to be able to put those builds together as quickly as those people can, and we're definitely not going to have the knowledge and the strategy involved in doing that right off the bat. It's something I'm going to have to learn. So I went ahead and I said, you know what, let's go ahead and shelf the Rogue for a little bit, and that leaves us with exactly one class. So there you have it. If you guys can do a little bit of math, you now know that I am now stuck with Necromancer. Necromancer will be the class that I am playing so far with the practice that I've been doing on Twitch, just streaming. I've really enjoyed the leveling experience so far at level 20. I like that they brought minions into play to where you can pretty much build, a small army of minions. It just feels good. It feels like that old Diablo 2 minion summoning type necro, except this time the minions actually seem good. I don't think they're ever going to be a viable source of main DPS, and I don't think the character was really intended for that. However, they do generate corpses, they do crowd control your enemies, and they act as tanks, which offers a lot of survivability. Then, of course, you have all of the ranged attacks that the Necromancer has at his disposal, which is just another amazing thing. That way you can send your minions forward, let them do the tanking, let them push out a little bit of damage while you throw some bone spears or whatever else that you're trying to do. Keeps you a little bit safe while still doing an amazing amount of damage. And all of that just really appealed to me as someone who's jumping back into hardcore. So there you have it, friends. That is exactly why I'm not playing the rogue to start with season 1, and that is exactly why I have picked the Necromancer. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by, listen to me ramble on about my thoughts and my reasonings about why I'm picking the Necromancer for the start of season 1. I hope you guys all enjoyed listening to me ramble on about it. If you have any opinions of your own, go ahead and leave those down in the comments section. I appreciate everybody's input. I will be streaming season 1 on launch day over on Twitch. You'll find the link for that somewhere down here in the description if you want to go ahead and check that out. I'd be grateful if you would. But until next time, guys, I'll see you later.